Does JJ Abrams suck? Yes, he definitely does. I would say please comment if you disagree, but I don't think anybody on the planet disagrees. Famous for ruining franchises, but even more famous for delivering a ridiculous TED Talk speech about his theory about mystery boxes, where I'm not going to put it in his words, but I'll put it in my words. He says that as long as you keep the audience guessing, who gives a shit whether you provide any substance? And you don't have to give them answers either. Just keep them guessing and then just end your movie. Now, I'm not going to review all his movies because I don't care enough. I don't want to even know all his movies. But I think he got his start with a show called Felicity, which I never saw. I have no idea what it's about at all. And I'd like to keep it that way. But that's where he got his start, I believe. Then he made a show called Lost, of which I watched like the first 3 episodes when it came out. And I just thought that I don't want to watch a movie, a TV show, about a bunch of people stranded on a desert island, because that sounds boring as hell. But over the years, people would tell me how amazing the show is. So I watched only the first 3 or 4 episodes at the most, and then I watched the series finale, so I watched the last episode, and I thought that was pretty good, sure. But it turns out the fans did not. And I think he got a lot of hatred and backlash for basically ending it very poorly. He did not open the mystery box and show what was inside. I think he proved to a lot of people that though he can start something that could be intriguing, he never has any idea how to finish it. Which reminds me a lot of Stephen King. Then he made or produced or something a show called Alias, which seems like it's some kind of spy show. I never watched it. But it seems like a spy show where the main character, Jennifer Garner, wears different wigs. And that's like basically the whole concept of the show, is that she wears different wigs to disguise herself. Then he makes Mission Impossible 3. And I haven't watched any of these Mission Impossible movies because after I found out Tom Cruise was a very sick, very evil Scientologist, I could not bring myself to watch him in a movie, knowing that he really thinks that he's a superhero, and then that he thinks he's better than everybody. I imagine it's probably a fine movie without, if you disregard the fact that Tom Cruise is in it, because it was probably written by somebody other than JJ Abrams. I don't think JJ Abrams is a bad director, I just don't think he can write for shit. Then he does Star Trek, and everybody I know was raving about how good it was. Intelligent people I know were saying how good it was. So I watched it like a year after it came out, and I thought it was okay. My first impression was like, okay, wait, but what is this shit? What is this shit about red? Was it red energy? Red matter? Yeah, when I heard about this red matter idea that was brought into the Star Trek universe, I was thinking, that just sounds so half-cocked, half-baked. I don't know what the term is. It was like, oh, okay, let's just invent red matter, Who cares? Let's not worry about science. I also thought it relied so heavily on coincidence. So Kirk is coincidentally kicked off the Enterprise, coincidentally onto the same planet where Spock is. Further coincidentally, it's the same planet where Scotty is. Anyway, I thought it was a fine action movie, but I thought it was more like a Star Wars movie. And I thought, this doesn't capture at all the spirit of Star Trek. Star Trek is about exploring. This movie is about drama and action. So I very much felt like they took everything about Star Trek out of it and just replaced it with, frankly, upon reflection, cheesy drama. Drama that may have worked on first viewing, but if you watch it again, you're just, oh, give me a break, this is so contrived. And so I thought, yeah, JJ Abrams, he should be directing a Star Wars movie, not a Star Trek movie. Turns out Red Letter Media said the same thing. Then he makes Super 8, which I think he wrote. I think it was a passion project of his. And he got Steven Spielberg to produce it or whatever. So he got Steven Spielberg to back him up. And it was like an E.T. wannabe. It was supposed to harken back to the child in all of us. And it was supposed to, the sense of wonder was supposed to be awakened in us, in the viewer. But it was pretty lame, and I don't even remember what the ending was, but I think just like every ending that JJ Abrams, when he is writing, every ending is always a very big disappointment. I think there's an alien, I think it's a movie about an alien, kids find an alien, or they find it sent, they get it they're on the track of an alien or something, I don't know. I remember there's a scene with a train. That's about all I remember about this movie. But then we get to his magnum opus. In Opposite Land. The opposite of a magnum opus, what would that be? What's the opposite of your crowning achievement? I don't know, the straw that broke the camel's back. With Star Wars, it could be said, now your failure is complete. So douchebag, firstly, oh my god, where to start? Okay, firstly, as soon as Disney bought Star Wars, they announced a whole trilogy is going to come out starting in 1 year from now. And I'm thinking, that's scary. That's really scary that you're not even waiting. You're just gonna crank these things out as though they're easy to make. Okay, so I watch it. I'm excited, just like everybody else. I love Star Wars. My childhood heroes were Superman and Luke Skywalker. There's nothing I love more, or used to love more, than Star Wars. Very little, very few things. Now, the first problem was that they made Kylo Wrench, a suck-up, a guy who looks up to Darth Vader and keeps his helmet, and he talks to it, and he's like, I will make you proud, grandfather. And I'm like, you're like a perv. You're like somebody who that's like stealing a girl's underwear, why are you looking at his helmet and talking to it, right? And you're not supposed to make the main villain be somebody who's basically saying, I'm just the Darth Vader wannabe, coming out and not just I'm a wannabe, I'm obsessed with Darth Vader. And I think JJ Abrams was one of the main writers for this turd. And aside from all the crap, the fact that Rey doesn't have a character arc, and that the new Sith Lord gets defeated in the first movie. What was it called? The Force Awakens. Aside from that was the fact that it was basically just a copy of the first movie. All the plot points, the whole story was just copied. It wasn't a new story. I mean, they would be charged with plagiarism if they didn't own it. But what was even more amazing was how the smart people, like Red Letter Media, they liked it at first. There's so many people who liked it. And I had one of those moments where I'm thinking, have I gone crazy? Has everybody gone crazy? How do they not see that this is just a new hope? But it had an amazing ending with the only character in Star Wars that I really deeply care about, who is Luke Skywalker, where Rey offers the lightsaber to him. And it ends on that note, and I'm just it kept me. I was having dreams about what was going to happen in the next movie because it was so cool. But in typical JJ Abrams style, he had no plan. And we all know what the round-headed guy that they hired to do the next movie did with that possibility and that potential. I later found out that Disney and JJ Abrams were doing certain things in order to maximize their profits on merchandising and toy sales. So, for example, having C-3PO have a red arm meant that they could get 100% of the profits on the C-3PO Red Arm toys. Or the Millennium Falcon, I don't know. There was other things, a lot of things where, basically, we want to get rid of all the original stuff so that we can sell the toys of the new characters that we've created and we own completely, such as, I guess, BB-8. Which makes me think of JJ Abrams not so much as a person with artistic passion, but more of somebody who wants to cash in. He wants to cash in and he doesn't have any love for what he makes. Then, of course, there was The Rise of Skywalker, which JJ Abrams directed, which half of you can't blame him because he had to pick up after the mess and the puke and the shit that Rian Johnson took during the second one, the Last Jedi. But on the other hand, you watch The Rise of Skywalker and you're just like, wow, this is just a disaster. This is just the most pathetic attempt at fan service. No effort towards storytelling. I spent the majority of my review of JJ Abrams on the Star Wars thing because it gave me a lot of insights, and because I scrutinized this quite a lot, this trilogy. And I came up with a theory of how JJ Abrams approaches movie making. In the case of Star Wars, if not all of his movies, I think he thinks, okay, this would be a cool visual to have, like, Kylo Ren talking to Darth Vader's helmet. And, there's no sense about it. It doesn't make any sense how he would have it or anything. But it looks cool, so let's put that in. And then it would be cool if, what's her name? Rey gets Luke's lightsaber. And, like, even though we're not going to explain it, we don't know how it happened. Doesn't matter. It looks cool. So he just has, like, 10 cool ideas for scenes. And then he just puts them all in there and connects them with the thinnest sinew, if that's the right word. Like, he connects it with the thinnest, so we go from point A to point B, but the getting there from point A to point B, we're gonna just, like, not even put any effort into that part. It would be like, okay, a guy finds a bomb in his house, and then, but then the next big scene we've got is that he finds a donkey on his roof. How do we get from point A to point B? Okay, he finds a bomb in his house, and then he gets a phone call. I don't know. They say there's a donkey on his roof. Then there's no attempt at storytelling. There was one scene in The Force Awakens where Maz Kanata says, they go, oh, where'd the lightsaber come from? And she goes, well, that's a story for another time. And I think that kind of sums up JJ Abrams. He just writes these, makes these movies, and then when there's any kind of plot hole or anybody's got any questions, he says, oh yeah, that's a story for another time. Like, that should be the title of his autobiography or biography. It should be A Story for Another Time, because we're never going to tell the story. We're just going to allude to it, because it's a mystery. It's a mystery we're never going to answer, because it's for another, I'll tell you later. Just imagine your favorite movie, and imagine before the climax and the resolution, they just end it by saying, well, the rest is a story for another time.